Tonight, protests over job losses at Grangemouth. Outside Scottish Labour's conference as the party leader promises the biggest reform of the NHS in decades.
As First Minister, I will make sure your money is spent on the nurses and the doctors, not the bureaucrats and not the pen pushers.
Also making the headlines, Philippe Clement responds to talks of a takeover at Rangers by a US consortium.
Have you thought, though, Philippe, what a change in ownership might mean for you in your position?
No. I'm busy now with the group, with the players, the next game, all of that.
And it's all aboard for exhibitors at Scotland's Model Railway Exhibition. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The Scottish Labour leader is promising the biggest reform of the NHS in decades. Anas Sarwar told delegates at his party conference in Glasgow he would end the growing culture of bureaucracy by cutting the number of health boards. Outside the venue, Grangemouth workers accused politicians of being missing in action over the closure of the oil refinery. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie reports.
Workers at Scotland's only oil refinery are accusing Labour of overseeing a catastrophe. They laid out 400 hard hats at the door of the party's conference, one for every job under threat.
Politicians, Anas Sarwar, for example, clearly made promises to workers that he would step in and save the day, if you like, and that's not happened, not even close.
What's the future looking like for you?
For me, it's uncertain. We'll have to look at what options are out there, and they're few and far between, to be honest.
If politicians do not act, we will.
Unions believe both the UK and Scottish governments are guilty of incompetence.
I think collectively the politicians have been missing in action, whether that's the Scottish Parliament or whether that's the UK Parliament. We've got a site here that does not have to be closed. This can be a green aviation site. And if they don't make the right decisions, Scotland will not forgive them and it will not be forgotten. They need to do the right thing and save these jobs.
It's just 7 months since Labour were riding high after its emphatic win at the UK general election. But its performance since entering Downing Street has dragged the party here down in the polls, as well as the anger of Grangemouth workers. There have been cuts to winter fuel payments, a failure to end the two-child benefit cap, or compensate WASPy women over pensions. Anas Sarwar believes his party can defy the odds and win the Holyrood election next year.
I am ready to give back to the country that has given me so much. That's why today I am submitting my application to be the next First Minister of Scotland.
He said the SNP had failed on education, supporting businesses and tackling poverty. The party leader promised a doctor's appointment within 48 hours of calling, as well as the biggest and most meaningful NHS reform in decades.
We will end the growing culture of bureaucracy. We will cut the number of health boards to 3, pushing power away from the boardrooms and to patients and staff on the front line. Put bluntly, fewer managers, more nurses, fewer chief executives and more doctors, because as First Minister, I will make sure your money is spent on the nurses and the doctors, not the bureaucrats and not the pen pushers.
He said Labour would end peak rail fares, ban mobile phones in classrooms and end rough sleeping.
New hope, new thinking, new leadership, a new direction for Scotland. That's what I offer. That's what Scottish Labour will deliver. Let's go out and win that future together. Thank you.
An offer warmly welcomed in the hall, but a colder reception from those protesting outside. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
Political editor Colin Mackay was also at the conference. So Colin, what did you make of Anas Sarwar's speech?
It was a well-crafted speech, it was well delivered and it was well received in the hall, but then they're all on his side already. The polls suggest he's got a much tougher time persuading the rest of the country, but for that there were some popular and populist policy ideas. Ending that 8 a.m. rush for GPs appointments sounds like a great idea, but it would involve the renegotiation of the GPs' contracts. That could take years and it could cost millions. He talked about banning mobile phones from classrooms to make schools safe again, but he's not actually proposing new legislation, just tightening the guidance. He talked about a new direction for Scotland. I think a lot of people at the conference that I spoke to afterwards still felt he's a bit light on some of the detail.
And what reaction has there been to the speech, Colin?
Well, on the idea of setting up a department for government efficiency like Donald Trump has, the SNP called Anas Sarwar a pound shop Elon Musk. He opened his speech triumphantly talking about Labour's general election win, about how they had won back the trust of the people of Scotland. But the Tories say Labour's already losing that trust by breaking their promises. And if you look outside the conference, as you saw in Ewan's report, waspy women protesting, Grangemouth workers shouting shame at the politicians going in. None of that was addressed in his speech. Anas Sarwar says this is his job application for First Minister of Scotland. I think he may face a few rigorous job interviews on the doorsteps of Scotland to come.
Colin in Glasgow, thank you. A body which runs specialist medical exams has apologised after hundreds of doctors were given the wrong results. The Federation of the Royal College of Physicians said a data processing error meant 222 doctors who sat the exam in 2023 were told they had passed when they had actually failed. Meanwhile, 61 were told they had failed when they had actually passed. The Health Secretary, Neil Gray, says 13 individuals in Scotland have been affected and that he is confident there has been minimal risk to patient safety.
This will have been devastating, potentially life-changing news for the resident doctors that received this news. These are people that have worked hard and spent thousands of pounds of their own money on exams and revision, have gone in, continuing in their careers, only to have the rug pulled out from underneath them. This will have an extreme effect on their mental health and will affect doctors and their confidence in the examination process going forward.
The Glasgow City Chief Executive Laura Montgomery says there's still a lot of work to be done in the battle against homophobia in Scottish football. Montgomery, one of the most high-profile lesbians in the game, also hit out at the leadership of the SFA after voting for the World Cup to be held in Saudi Arabia. She sat with our reporter Ronnie Charters for our LGBTQ+ series and began by sharing her thoughts on why this History Month is so crucial.
I think it's really important. I think with all things in life, particularly when there's been a lot of struggle, I think it's important that we never rest on our laurels, and I think we do need to celebrate those that have paved the path that we're all in today. But I think also we need to recognise that there's still a lot of work to be done.
If we take you back, what was your experience growing up and coming out?
I was one of these kids, I didn't even know I was gay, but I didn't really know anything else. I have hidden a lot of things over the years, so as much as in that safe environment of my football team, I would be gay, no one else was aware. No one that I went to school with was aware. If I think back, I deliberately probably removed myself from a lot of friendships. Certainly, probably in my early years, I very much lived two different lives.
What were the attitudes back then?
I think certainly very negative. I think it was always... externally, if people weren't aware of who I was, as I say, I never had anything directly said to my face, but, if I was in conversation with other people and they didn't know that I was gay, there would be a lot of, negative remarks. So, for example, most people that haven't assumed I'm gay growing up, so I would be in an environment and I'd say, oh yeah, I play football, and they say, yeah, but it's full of dykes, isn't it? But assuming I'm not one of them, so they can say that derogatory remark. And that's probably largely, how kind of bad it was.
Are there still experiences and instances of homophobic abuse towards either yourself or the players that you're having to deal with?
There's probably players that have put themselves out there a bit more and been a bit more open. And yeah, without doubt, they've had, abuse from certain parts. I think we all know, as much as social media is a great thing, it allows a platform to people to come and, and say not very nice things. So yeah, we've had players that have, tried to put their head above the parapet to speak out for stuff, and then, they've received, abuse for it. Hopefully it isn't a minority, but 100% has happened, and it still happens today.
Obviously there was the controversy surrounding Saudi Arabia being awarded the World Cup. Does that hurt?
Yes, it does, and I think it's got so political, and it's not necessarily decisions made for the greater good, would be all I would say. So certainly with our own, let's be honest, small association, hugely disappointing. We only need to go back to the early 70s when Scotland was the only country in UEFA that voted against accepting women's football. So we've got a bit of history in making the wrong votes.
What would your message be to a young girl, a young boy, someone who maybe doesn't know who they are yet, who will be watching this?
It's difficult to be yourself at times, and it can also be very difficult to be yourself in the room where you think you're the only one. But all I'll say is you won't be the only one. You might just be the first to say so, and it's important that I think we all try and live our true, authentic selves, because if you don't, it is really fundamentally hard to be really happy.
Laura, thank you very much for joining us on STV.
Thank you.
A public consultation will begin next month on the future of bus services across Greater Glasgow and the West. Strathclyde Partnership for Transport says its strategy aims to improve the bus network and develop franchising, which would see the right to run routes awarded to the most competitive bidder. The Scottish Hospitals Inquiry's final report is expected to be issued at the end of next year after calls for further evidence. It's been examining the design and construction of the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow and the Royal Hospital for Children. It was launched in the wake of deaths linked to infections, including that of 10-year-old Millie Main. Glasgow City Mission has announced its winter project, which supports homeless people in the city, has been extended by 2 months. The project, which helps move people off the streets and into temporary accommodation, has so far supported 313 individuals this winter. The organisation also assists those in need with things like registering with a doctor and helping with finding employment. Parents of pupils at a Falkirk primary school have told STV News they've been left with utter chaos after it closed following the discovery of major defects in the building. Maddiston Primary had originally closed due to storm damage, but Falkirk Council says no pupils will be allowed in until August following the discovery. Ollie Dickinson reports.
Like many buildings, recent major storms caused damage to Maddiston Primary School in Falkirk. However, as repair work got underway, deeper issues were exposed. In a letter sent to parents, Falkirk Council explained that works had discovered wider defects that were not related to the storm and that fixing them would cause major disruption to the school's operation. As a result, all pupils would be moved to other schools in the area.
My children aren't going to be able to just settle straight away. And I don't know what supports are going to be put in place. I don't know anything. My kids may have to take transport, which they've never had in their lives. They've had me drop them off at school every day. So that's going to be very unsettling for them as well. So, yeah, it's absolute chaos.
Pupils will be sent across the town to Moray Primary, Wallerstone Primary, Banterskin Primary, as well as Braes and Carron Grange High Schools. Parents say it's far from ideal.
I don't really know what's going on, to be honest with you. There was meant to be another thing out today, but I haven't received it, so they're telling us actually how they're going to get to the schools that they're going to.
She doesn't know anybody, she doesn't want to go on the bus without a parent being there, that kind of thing.
We will start school in August, so the only concern is that it doesn't open in August and then we don't know where he'll start for the first time. And obviously transition things in terms of going to visit the school and seeing things. I'm assuming he won't get in just now, so.
Falkirk Council told STV News that the safety of pupils, staff and visitors remains their top priority and that the schools will work together to timetable the available resources so all pupils receive continuity in their learning and have access to all of the required resources, and that they will also explore whether there are any legal or contractual implications at an appropriate point. Works at Maddiston are expected to take until August to complete and for pupils to return. Ollie Dickinson, STV News, Falkirk.
Now Rahman is standing by with the sport.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Good evening. Dave King says he wants the potential takeover of Rangers by a US consortium to be his lasting legacy at Ibrox. That as he prepares to sell his near 13% stake in the club. Philippe Clement insists he's not considered what a takeover would mean for his position as manager. Meanwhile, after the Ibrox side were drawn against Fenerbahce in the last 16 of the Europa League, Clement says while he respects Jose Mourinho as a manager, he's not a fan of his defensive style of play. There is set to be a sea of change at Ibrox, with a consortium led by Parag Marathe, who heads up the financial side of NFL franchise the San Francisco 49ers, in advanced talks with Rangers over a significant investment which could result in a takeover. The Rangers manager was quizzed on this today.
Those are business questions, so I think the club addressed things the last couple of days. Patrick did. So I'm here, like I said, for the sportive side, and I will see whatever moment in time if things change in the club.
Have you thought though, Philip, what potential fresh investment or a change in ownership might mean for you in your position?
No. I'm busy now with the group, with the players, the next game.
Dave King is Rangers' single largest shareholder. The former Ibrox chairman claims he has sought potential investors as a consortium from America moves closer to investing in the club.
He's somebody who's more in the defensive and reacting out of that style. I prefer more the managers personally, the managers who go full in their attacking force and playing out of that. So, but incredible respect.
If you go to Scotland, you go to Scotland. It's a fantastic stadium, great emotion. The fans are very passionate.
Rangers host St Mirren tomorrow. The Paisley side were 2-1 winners when the teams met in December.
We've proved only a few weeks ago that we can beat them. Deservedly so in my eyes. We were very good first half, they were very good second half. And then we came strong again. Cherney's a big threat. And they've got other players that can win games on their own, so we're aware of that. But if we press properly and we stay in the game, then we believe we've got threats of our own.
John Souttar is unavailable for tomorrow's clash due to injury, while Danilo returns. Now, ahead of their trip to face Hibs, Brendan Rodgers has challenged his Celtic players to use the disappointment of their Champions League exit to ensure they end the season with the treble. The Parkhead club are 13 points clear at the top of the table and return to league business after their narrow defeat to Bayern Munich during the week. Meanwhile, Hibs are on a run of 12 games unbeaten across all competitions and welcome back Joe Newell and Marvin Ekpiteta from injury.
To come and perform that well, we must draw the positives on that, and now we look forward. We've got 2 titles and more to play for back home, and we've got a few months to go, so let's finish off on what can be an absolutely brilliant campaign for us.
In a game like this, you need to believe you can do it, and you need to take the confidence from how we've been playing at the minute, how we played against them the last time. We obviously need to improve because we lost the game, and work on the areas that let ourselves down. We know it'll be a real difficult game, and we know we need to be at the very best. Every player needs to play at the top of their game to get a positive result.
Michael Wimmer takes charge of his first match as Motherwell manager tomorrow. The Steelmen are away to Dundee United. There are all of the weekend's Premiership games. Following their win over St Johnstone, Kilmarnock travel to Aberdeen. And on Sunday, after their defeat to Rangers last weekend, Hearts are aiming to bounce back. They make the trip to McDermott Park. And Scotland women are in Nations League action right now as they take on Austria in their opening group game. With an hour gone in Austria, the hosts lead 1-0. It's Michael Mercado's first game as interim boss of the national team after Pedro Martinez Losa was sacked in December. To rugby, and Scotland co-captain Rory Dart says they'll harness the emotions of taking on England in the Six Nations as they target a record-breaking 5th consecutive Calcutta Cup victory. Following their defeat to Ireland, it's a must-win game for the Scots if they are to keep alive their hopes of winning the championship. Jamie Borthwick reports from Twickenham.
What once was the graveyard of Scottish hopes has in recent years become a playground of famous victories for the men in dark blue. Unbeaten here since 2017, Scotland have eliminated the Twickenham fear factor.
The emotional side's easy for any Six Nations game, and I find that it is important in rugby to make sure you put emotion into your actions, but I think, this game, there's so much to play for, so much at stake. outside of it being a Calcutta Cup, that's something easy to do.
Scotland haven't had it so good in this fixture for over a century, and there's a desperation among the England camp to end this barren run against the old enemy.
Everyone says, like, teams who play against England, they find a bit extra. Actually, there's nastiness to us. We want to bring the Calcutta Cup back here. We haven't done so, and we want to do that.
In days gone by, the Scots would be fuelled by raw emotion when running out against their oldest foes. Gregor Townsend believes this team's attitude has matured.
Maybe in the past, and I'm speaking personally here, that was too much of a factor. Too much emotion came out and not enough calmness and clarity in what we were doing. So I know the passion will be there. The passion will be there to play for your teammates, to play for your country, to show an improved performance from the last game. But we have to be calm amongst the chaos.
It's not just bragging rights at stake tomorrow, as the losing team will be effectively knocked out of the Six Nations Championship running. Over the course of history, winning here has been one of the hardest things a Scotland team can do. They'll enter this arena as underdogs, but underdogs who know what it takes to upset the odds. Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport, Twickenham.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
And that, folks, is all of your sport tonight. Now, I told you last night, Scotland against England. John, where can you watch it?
Like all the best stuff, STV.
Thought you were going to say Boozer.
Well, thank you. Well, the weather certainly has taken a turn. Here's Sean with the details.
Wet by the coast, with a high chance of sun and splashing. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Very good evening to you. Not too nice out there today, as it's strong and gusty winds and plenty of rain. Much better tomorrow though, quieter, thank goodness. But oh, look what's out west. The gale highlighter's back for us on Sunday. Strong gusty winds coming back in on Sunday, lots of rain around, and the wind gust could be a little bit stronger than we've had today on Sunday, so pretty unsettled end to the weekend. For the time being though, well, we've still got some showers around, and we'll hang on to a few showers through this evening and tonight, but mostly later on those showers becoming restricted to the northwest, where it still remains quite blustery through the night. The winds elsewhere easing down. Temperature wise, it's mild. Lows tonight for you, 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. That's roughly where we should be during the day at this time of year, so a very mild night for February, 7 or 8 degrees, so no frost to worry about. Tomorrow morning, the showers start off mainly across the likes of Mull, Col and Tiree, Ardnamurchan, Fort William, a few in Oban as well. But further south and east, a lot of dry and sunny weather, but we will see a few scattered showers coming into the likes of Dumbartonshire, Renfrewshire, Glasgow, North Lanarkshire and Ayrshire during the afternoon. So dry and sunny in the south and east to start with, a few showers around in the afternoon, showers from the word go in the northwest. Temperatures about 10 degrees, that's 50 degrees in Fahrenheit. As say, those strong winds are back with us on Sunday. Here's the highlighter showing you 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts, that pink shade coming onto the map. For us widely, even over inland parts, we could see gusts about 50 to 60 miles per hour. It's a southerly airflow on Sunday, so strong and gusty winds, maybe up to about 70 in parts of the Hebrides for a time as well. So very windy weather again on Sunday, more very wet weather, and staying changeable next week too. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, it's full steam ahead for enthusiasts taking part in the Model Rail exhibition in Glasgow this weekend. With 50 miniature railway worlds from home and abroad and around 20,000 visitors expected, there's no sign the event, now in its 59th year, is reaching the end of the line. We sent Hannah Carmichael along to find out more.
It's an annual favourite for train enthusiasts, the UK's largest independent model rail show. And this year, its popularity is electrified.
I think it's because you can take yourself away from everyday life into a little place of your own environment, and I think that just is a nice switch-off mentality, basically.
There were concerns the hobby was running out of steam due to the cost of living and changing demographics, but a near 30% boost to ticket sales suggests things are getting back on track. One man making sure everyone's all aboard is Charlie, a model railway YouTuber with more than 75,000 subscribers.
We're trying to bring in youngsters into the hobbies and trying to get youngsters away from their iPads and their phones. I think manufacturers now have turned the tables and you can now control your trains with your mobile phones. And it makes the hobby far more interesting for youngsters.
And this event seemed to be just the ticket for today's attendees.
I enjoy it every year, it's always good, and I have a good few friends who come as well.
Nice day out, and it's nice to see Harry enjoying it.
It's been fantastic. I mean, there's a few layouts I've seen before, but I mean, look at it.
More than 50 tracks are on display at the event, which runs until Sunday. One thing's for certain, it's full steam ahead for model railways. Hannah Carmichael, STV News, Glasgow.
And they turn up on time. That's it from all of us here. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.